Hey, it's Chris, Legion of Games. I like talking about board games. I love talking about board games. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to talk about a couple games that are out there right now that I think you should have your eye on if you don't already. Games that don't have the hype, games that don't have all of the content media rage hotness going on. And we're going to do it slightly differently because I'm going to give you 3 games that are across the board completely different. And I mean that in a good way. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about these games in short bullet point bursts. And I'm going to challenge you to go out of your comfort zone to buy something that is going to get played rather than something is just always on the hotness because the grass is always greener. I'm telling you right now, the grass is green right here. Let's do this. Two of these 3 games that I'm going to talk to you about today are on crowdfunding currently. 2 of these 3 games you have completely overlooked. The third one I guarantee you have overlooked as well, but it is now coming to backers from crowdfunding. That last one here is a different take on a classic reinvention. And what I mean by that is this is Eero. You may have seen it on crowdfunding, you may not have. It was relatively overlooked. Another hidden dark horse gem that you should be aware of. Why am I talking about this? Well, look, for starters, look how small this box is right here, right? This is not a large box. This has everything you need. The rules are on the freaking back of the box. There's no rules insert. Everything else is in here. Now, why am I talking about this game? This game is for all you abstractors out there. Do you like abstracts? If you are an abstract fan, you should be checking this one out. Again, this one's going to fly under a lot of people's radar. But this reminds me of one of my other favorite abstract games, Kamisado, where you have different colored pieces that travel diagonally or straight across the board trying to make your way to the back line. First one to get one to your opponent's back line wins. And the concept with this is exactly the same. First one to get one to their opponent's back line wins. But with these pieces, with this setup compared to Kamisado, it is more akin to chess. But now take chess, if you will, and imagine if all of a sudden, when some of your pieces were knocked off the board in chess, or before they were knocked off, you could swap one with a different one from your reserve. And now only, instead of predetermined movement, make the movement based on the colors on the pieces if they can get to it orthogonally from the space it's in. And if you can capture your opponent's pieces as you go. That's what Eero is. And I won't lie, I thought this game was going to be very light. I looked at this and I said, oh, this is cute. This is light. No. This is the closest equivalent to a color-based chess that I can describe to you. So if anything interests you along the lines of abstracts or chess or just a different color aspect scheme based game, I challenge you to go look this up and try this out potentially. This is a keeper in my collection right now. Now, it's going to tweak your nerves a little bit if you are a perfect information abstract person or along those lines in terms of gamers, because the board setup is random. You're given a total of 12 square boards, each with 4 colors in them, that you just randomly set up in a 4x3 grid. So you can twist them, you can turn them, you can, rotate them completely 180, 270, 90 degrees, wherever you want. But the arrangement is always slightly different. And then you just randomly put 12 of your pieces down in your first 2 rows, 12 of the pieces on the other side, and then you just go. And you have 4 in your reserve that you can mix and match. And then when pieces are taken off, you can use those ones that have been eliminated to swap out on your turn, because some of your pieces may not be able to move. And then it's just who can outthink the other person in terms of color combinations and checker chess slight variation. And believe me, it's more complicated complexity when you're playing. The overhead is very simple, but it does an amazing job at it. And this was like a first-time designer, and it works. Now, I'm not sure if I would say 10-minute time frame, This one definitely could be a little bit longer, 15, 20 minutes, but it achieves what it's set out to be. It's probably a much thinkier abstract than I have played in a while, and I say that in a very good way. So that's game number 1. Game number 2, currently on crowdfunding right now. You may have seen me hype it. You may have seen me talk about it. You may not have. But I think if you're looking for something completely different from a filler, if you want a affordable, easy to hit the table, time short wise, I can get this played with absolutely anybody. Let me introduce you to Basa. This Japanese game, which you can pick up at the lowest price level for like $15 right now on Kickstarter, because unless you want to deluxify it, you can just get it for that. And I mean, this is all it is, right? It's just chips, and 2 dice. So it's nothing extravagant. But let me tell you, both with a classic mode and an advanced mode, it is probably one of the most unique fillers that I have ever played, because all you're doing is looking at pips on your little chips. Pips on chips, pips on chips, pips on chips, pips on chips. And all you're doing is you're creating numerical sequential successions of numbers, right? 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, 4 dots of black or white, and you have a row of black and a row of white. And depending on which mode you're playing, one mode is either get all your tiles played first, the other one is create a row of 6 tiles around your dice on either side, as long as they're in order. And that's it. And the other key point is you have 3 special action tiles, those red ones right there, that allow you to either discard, swap, or play on top of tiles that are already there. And, oh man, it's such a unique gimmick. I feel so... This is one of those games where you all of a sudden, after 2 or 3 plays, you have a light bulb go off and you go, oh, that's got a little bit more nuance than I really realized there. Now, the rules, I mean, it's a Japanese translated into English, so I had to clarify a few things with the designers online. But once I did, I said, wow, this is surprisingly good. This is a game. This is why you get into the hobby, right? For the ingenuity that goes with both of these games. That makes you feel like it's so simplistic, but it's so nuanced at the same time. Why hasn't anyone thought of something like this before? Now, this is also going to be something slightly different because you can actually get a draw in this game. Because if you run out of the draw pile, no one can play and no one can essentially win then. But that's okay because it plays probably in 5, 6, 7 minutes at the most. And it works. That's what should make you excited about these first 2 games. They work at what they are going for. They achieve more than the individual parts that you look at this and you go, Chris, it's not a hunk full of plastic. It's not something Kickstarter exclusive. I'm not going to be able to resell it for 3 times the value on the secondary market. Nobody else is hyping it, so it must not be any... Throw that out the window. I'm telling you right now, firsthand, both of these games are excellent. There you go. The third game, this is something different. This is also on crowdfunding right now. This is a different take on, I will say, air hockey crokinole, if you will. And it's pathways, where essentially you're not trying to get them across. You might look at this board and you may go, this looks like I'm just trying to get them across. And it's sort of like the paper football, in grade school where you flicked the ball and you made it to the other side and you just wanted to hang it slightly left. No, this is where you're trying to get across to get to the last row on the other person's side into those empty slots. Only when you're flicking your discs across, you're going to gradually fill in some other spots, depending on how good you are, and hopefully end up in the back row. And then if you do, you score points, and then you play a number of rounds because each round you win gets you a certain number of points. Or if you score a certain number in that last row, you get more points and so on and so forth. Now, full disclaimer on this. This is not the most strategic game. Like, my wife and I have played this several times now, and, it's basically almost machine gun flicking. Not quite. But what I mean by that is there's not a lot of nuance. There is not as much technical aiming as you would with crokinole to compare it to that. At the same time, my wife looked at me after we played this, and I said, honey, what did you think of this? And she goes, it's kind of mindless. And I go, what do you mean? And she goes, a lot of the time after I put the kids to bed, a lot of the time after a long day, I don't feel like playing anything where I really have to think heavily about things. And she said, I like it from that aspect. I just set the board on the table, put my pieces on one side, and flick. And you can do it as much or as little as you want. The pickup, setup, and put away is as easy as you're going to get. It's probably the fastest game in your collection from that aspect. And it just works. Now, again, like I said, it's not the most nuanced. I wouldn't argue that it's going to be more strategic or more, as it says on the board, as much skill as maybe some other games, depending on how much effort you want to put in. But that's part of the plus, right? Is you don't have to put in all the effort all the time, and that's kind of nice. And I mean, like I said, the board itself, the bamboo board, all you do when these are in here is you just lift it up, swipe them away, and rinse and repeat. Now they're going to have a play mat too. So if you want to get one, you want to get the other, it's up to you. And I'll put this out there. I saw people commenting when I talked about this the first time. They're like, wow, this bamboo board, that's super expensive. That's not good value. You know what? I hear all the time people justifying component upgrades for deluxe Euros. Component upgrades for that. They have absolutely no gameplay value. All the time, people argue with me in the comment section and tell me how wrong I am about the standees and how plastic miniatures that offer only aesthetic value, no gameplay value, are worth the cost. And isn't that what this is, though, in a nutshell? This is aesthetic value of something that is high quality, highly made, adding an element to it that you wouldn't otherwise have. And you're going to pay a little extra for. That you're probably not going to be able to get at a later time. So I challenge you that this is no different. It's why I recently backed the other abstract game, Sum 8, and I decided to do the wooden version, even though I could get two of the plastic versions for less than the same price. Because I chose my aesthetic upgrade in this sense. And that, value-wise, I challenge you, is no different than those other two in those aspects and in those games. Or somehow our mind jumps through hoops to justify the others and yet say that this or this at the higher levels isn't worth it. I'll tell you what's worth it. The eye of the beholder. And if you think you're only right because you only love Euros and you're one of those people that shouts at the miniature people or vice versa, you're both wrong. Because this is just as good. It's just the same. It's how you choose to spend it. Because I guarantee I can play both of these combined in less time and more times than you're ever going to get those other games played. And that's what this is about, right? As I hit myself in the face with that thing. It's about getting games played. And that's what matters the most to me. And that's why I'm bringing these games to you. Because I think they're good games that you can get played and you can enjoy and have fun with. Now, again, not everybody. If it isn't for you, it's not for you. And I'm okay with that too. If you want to go after one of those other things, I got plenty of those in my collection as well. But you know what? These bring me joy. These games are the reason I get into these sort of hobby issues. That's why I started this channel in the first place. It's why I enjoy talking about crowdfunding on a weekly basis when all of you are also shouting, you got to back the indie backers. You got to back the indie games and the indie companies all the time. And the rest of it's just a pre-order. Well, here you go, folks. 3 games right here, right laying on your laps, at your fingertips. To put your money where your mouth is on the indie side of things. And you know what? I'm going to continue to do this. These small companies, these small games, because I love them. This is why I am so passionate about board games, folks. This stuff. Yeah, I like the 7 figures. Yeah, I like the triple-digit pledges. But you know what? This is the heart and soul of the industry, too. Everybody gets their start somewhere. Give them a shout out. Give them a shot. That's all I'm asking. I dare you to look at stuff that's outside your comfort zone occasionally. That's what I do all the time on crowdfunding. I encourage you to do the same. Have a great day. Stay classy. Play something fun. Hopefully not too serious there at the end. Just a touch serious, but also it's because I love it. Because I love it. Have a great day.